Adult cartoons have been known to ride the line of what can and can't be broadcasted on TV. Today I'm going to review one of the most polarizing banned episodes from the three titans of the industry: South Park, Family Guy, and The Simpsons. We're jumping in to find out how good the episode was, why the episode was banned, and what kind of impact the episode had as a whole. These episodes are banned just like how my creepy Uncle Randall isn't invited to family gatherings anymore. Fair warning, there will be a fair bit of controversy surrounding these episodes. I'm excited to get into today's stacked lineup. I've never seen any of these episodes before, so let's take off our water wings and dive into the deep end of adult animation's banned episodes. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to subscribe. It is scientifically proven that you will grow up to 3 feet taller by subscribing. You could be in the NBA with that height, or you could at least reach the Cheetos on the top shelf at the grocery store. If you have suggestions for future rankings, feel free to drop those in the comments below. If you ever want to jump into the conversation, share your hot takes, or just partake in some Bucko-verse shenanigans, our Discord link is below. As always, huge shout out to our channel members and Patreons for their support. Let's not waste any more time and let's get right into the video. I gotta come clean. I'm a big fat phony.
That's right. You're a big fat phony.
I lied. I haven't seen every episode of South Park, but that changes today. You can now throw at most one wrench at me. I can dodge a ball. I can certainly dodge a wrench. Okay, I gotta come clean. I lied twice. I said we'd only be watching one episode per show, but this is a two-part episode, so for the almighty South Park, we'll be covering both episodes. These were intended to be a celebration of South Park's successes, a culmination of all the past adventures leading to one big bang, but instead they crossed the line and have been sealed away permanently in a vault forever, until today. You probably knew this episode was coming before you even clicked on the video. Leading us off today is Season 14's episode 200, the 200th episode in franchise history. The kids of South Park Elementary are taking a tour of the local candy factory. Kyle and Cartman are rehashing some of their old arguments. Meanwhile, Butter spots a specific celebrity who is very quick to hit people with lawsuits. This celebrity does not take kindly to being called a fudge packer, when he is quite literally packing fudge. The celebrity, we will call him Stuntman to refrain from mentioning him by name. Stuntman decides to sue the entire town of South Park, bringing together every celebrity that South Park has made fun of in their last 199 episodes. Randy tries to talk some sense into the Stuntman here to avoid the lawsuit. Stuntman gives them one way to get out of the lawsuit: if they can get a specific prophet, who will also not be named for protection purposes, to appear in South Park, he will drop the lawsuit. Showing this prophet is a big deal in South Park, and in TV. This leads to a giant meta discussion about what can and can't be shown. Stuntman wants to harvest the power of the prophet because he can't ever be made fun of. That's when another mega celebrity joins the lawsuit: Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez.
Stan and Kyle go to the Super Best Friends, which is a callback to the first time that the Prophet was shown, uncensored on TV. Originally, this had limited to no backlash. The Super Best Friends come to an agreement with Stan and Kyle with the terms on how the Prophet can be shown. Cartman reveals his true intentions were to use Jennifer Lopez, who is actually Mitch Connor in disguise, to make a bunch of money. Meanwhile, in the town, they bring the Prophet into the town using a U-Haul, so that the Prophet can't be seen. There's a lot of discourse about how the Prophet can or can't be shown in the episode, and on TV in general. They end up putting the Prophet in a bear costume. Before the Prophet is given to the Stuntman, another faction joins the struggle: the Ginger Kids. Another callback to an infamous episode where the Ginger Kids were the sole butt of the joke. The Ginger Kids got slammed harder than the Cleveland Browns do every single Sunday. If you're an across-the-pond non-NFL viewer, here's an alternative version of the joke. The Ginger Kids got slammed harder than Southampton did last Premier League season. Please don't be mad at me, I tried my best. The Ginger Kids also seek the power to not be made fun of. Cartman is about to give up when Mitch Connor informs him he knows the true secret of who Cartman's dad is. As a bit of context, in Season 2 it was revealed that Cartman's mom is also his dad.
I have a dad, butthole. My mom is my dad.
Stuntman is very upset as the Ginger Kids are going to be receiving the Prophet. That's when the celebrities remember their ace in the hole, Barbara Streisand, who is a giant mech in the South Park universe. Mecha Streisand joins the celebrities' war efforts against the town of South Park. Eric tries to question another character who hasn't seen the light of day in a long time: Mr. Hat. Mr. Hat admits to Eric that his father is still at large, while the townspeople are about to square off against the Gingers, and Barbara Streisand is waiting to be released. This episode ends so epically as everything is about to reach a boiling point. While watching this episode, I was thinking about how someone who hasn't seen South Park would have absolutely no idea what's going on here. There are so many callbacks and cameos from previous episodes. Can't believe it took me this long to watch it. The meta commentary on what they can and can't show the Prophet in is great as well. Also, a callback to the Super Best Friends and previous episodes where showing the Prophet was discussed. What a wild ride. I hope the follow-up episode can top this somehow. We're picking up right where we left off with Season 14's episode 201. This episode begins with Mitch Connor interrogating Mr. Garrison on the true identity of Eric's father. This episode is heavily censored off the bat, a stark difference from the last episode. The Prophet takes the bear costume off, revealing that Santa was the one in the costume all along. Stan was trying to pull a cheeky switcheroo on everyone, but his plan was foiled. Mecha Streisand is raining terror on Casa Bonita. Everyone laughing at Seaman here is great.
Who would have activated her again? I don't know, Seaman. It's Seaman!
We make a surprising return to Mephisto's genetic engineering lab, a character that I haven't seen or thought about in years. Cartman and Mitch Connor break into the lab. Mecha Streisand deletes Pip from existence, leading to a tragic end to one of South Park's greatest characters. At least we can all remember Pip's greatest moments. Like that time or that one episode where does Pip have any good moments? The Prophet finally makes an appearance, and he is a giant censored bar. No! Streisand destroys Raisins and Country Kitchen Buffet, two staples of the South Park universe. Luckily, the super best friends are here to save the day. The boys bring the Prophet to Mephisto's lab to clone him, which will appease both the celebrities and the Gingers, ending the conflict. The super best friends are largely ineffective against Barbra Streisand until Moses gives them a solution. Even more shade is being thrown at Seaman here. I mean, couldn't he just call himself Aquaman or heck, even Ocean Man? The Gingers find the Prophet at Mephisto's lab and decide to team up with the celebrities to extract his powers. Cartman is taken to the head of the Gingers, none other than his arch nemesis, Scott Tenorman, someone who Eric famously made eat his own parents in a chili cook-off. Yeah, this is super nuts if you haven't seen South Park before. Barbra Streisand can't resist singing a duet with Neil Diamond. This is exactly how they defeat her. Scott Tenorman claims to know the true identity of Eric's father. Stuntman absorbs some of the Prophet's power, leading to him being a giant censored bar himself. The super best friends break in to stop them. Meanwhile, Cartman learns his father was a Denver Bronco. Bo Nix, really? And everyone hid his identity because they were having a good season. You know what? I don't blame them. It's rough out there for Broncos fans. At least they aren't Raiders fans, because that would suck. Turns out Scott Tenorman's father also played for the Denver Broncos. Jack Tenorman was Eric's father. Scott Tenorman escapes, but it turns out the anti-make-fun-of goo doesn't actually work, as Stuntman is made fun of. Everyone gives a speech on what they have learned, and I kid you not, 95% of the speech is literally just Cartman's broken up about everything, mainly because his dad was a ginger, and that makes him half ginger. Mitch Connor says goodbye for good. Kyle and Stan end up sending Stuntman to the moon, where nobody can ever make fun of him again. Man, this episode is insane. It's a really amazing episode in all honesty. I wish I could know what Kyle actually said during his speech at the end. Maybe there's a transcript or something available online. These two episodes are up there with some of the all-time greats. Learning who Cartman's dad actually was is a crazy twist that adds some deep lore to the South Park universe. Scott Tenorman, to my knowledge, hasn't been seen since this episode, but he's technically Eric's half-brother. Alright, let's talk a bit about why this episode was banned. 200 and 201 were banned by Comedy Central due to the Prophet storyline. Even though South Park had shown the Prophet before without issue, by writing this storyline, Trey Parker and Matt Stone risked violent retributions for the depictions represented in the show. Before 201 aired, security around Comedy Central's New York offices was increased in response to threats being made against them. Interestingly, the full speeches by Kyle, Jesus, and Santa Claus are available on Wikipedia, uncensored. They don't necessarily mention the Prophet by name, and the speech can be summarized as intimidation and fear are an effective measure to silence an entity. 201 was never re-aired after the original airing. The episode Super Best Friends was also pulled down following the media attention that it received from this episode. And it's a shame because this is one of South Park's greatest episodes and a personal favorite of mine. Not many Family Guy moments come to mind when I think about banned episodes. Yeah, they have some jokes that age poorly, but not a lot comes to mind in terms of being completely and outright banned. I was doing some fierce research, deep in the trenches of Reddit, when I found a Season 8 episode that had been practically scrubbed from existence. This episode barely saw the light of day in the first place, just like your average RuneScape player. Let's find out what got this episode axed off the air. We jump into the final episode of Season 8's Partial Terms of Endearment. Lois meets one of her old exes at a reunion. Turns out Lois dated a girl in her past, named Naomi. Naomi asks Lois for a favor, and Peter is excited about the prospect of what that favor might be. Turns out Naomi is married, ruining or actually altering any of Peter's fantasies on what the favor might be. A lot of suggestive stuff to lead off this episode. It's a bit uncomfortable. This would be the one episode that your parents happen to be watching with you. Always have the weirdest stuff happen when they finally decide to take a look at one of your interests or walk into the room at a weird part in a video game. Naomi and her husband are unable to conceive, and they want to ask Lois to be a surrogate mother. Lois decides to accept Naomi's offer, much to the dismay of Peter. They actually feed the conspiracies that Meg is Stewie's real mom here. Kinda weird.
I mean, why's it gotta be you?
Because they need a healthy female body to carry the baby.
I can do it.
Oh, come on, Meg. It was hot enough on your body when you gave birth to Stewie.
What?
Lois goes through with being the surrogate mother, and Peter decides to do something about it. Peter does some, let's call it pranks? Yeah, pranks works. Peter does some pranks so that Lois's decision will be reversed organically. Man, this episode's really messed up. It gets even worse when Naomi and her husband tragically pass away to the great cornfield beyond. This leads to Lois having to make a difficult decision. Yep, this one's getting pretty dark and pretty real very quickly. I'm really surprised that the Family Guy team went through with creating this episode. Lois and Peter explore their options and they decide not to go through with everything. Well, that is until Peter's convinced otherwise by some people protesting outside the building. Peter flip-flopping here harder than my sleep schedule when GTA 6 comes out, if it ever comes out. Family Guy's getting pretty deep into the pro-life, pro-choice debate by the end of the episode. Peter and Lois have a long talk and make their decision. I'm sure you can guess what that is because there are no new characters in the Griffin household following season 8. Overall, I thought this episode wasn't very great. It seems like it wanted to tackle a serious topic, but it took forever to get to the point. I can completely see why it got banned in the first place, but has a lot of controversy with what subject matter they are tackling. Not my favorite episode by a long shot, but let's talk a little bit about the ban. This episode was banned from airing by Fox, although it did air in the UK on BBC Three. They really need to change that name. The episode was banned due to how it portrayed the controversial subject of abortion. Adult Swim also refused to air this episode. While the episode was banned everywhere but the UK, it received positive reviews from critics. While banned from airing in America, that did not stop Family Guy from including this episode in its Season 8 DVD set. This episode has much less drama surrounding it than South Park's 200 and 201. Fox just simply didn't want to air what they deemed to be a controversial episode. It feels like The Simpsons have been on the air since the Great Depression, so they're bound to have some outright banned episodes, right? Well, it didn't take me long to find a few to pick from. Today's episode is from the early years of The Simpsons, and this episode didn't end up being banned until 28 years after its original air date. My apologies if the video quality is a bit lower here. This episode was harder to find than deodorant at an anime convention. We're jumping into the season 3 episode, Stark Raving Dad. Lisa's turning 8 soon, and Homer can't find his famously white t-shirt. It turns out all the laundry was done together, turning his shirt pink. I typically just throw every bit of laundry in together and hope for the best, so I really don't blame them here. Homer can't wear a pink shirt to work though, because everyone only wears white t-shirts. Mr. Burns keeps a close eye on everyone, making sure they are all wearing white. Mr. Burns ends up catching Homer in his pink shirt, and they give Homer a psychological exam. Homer doesn't want to do the exam, he sees it as homework, so he asks everyone in his family to do it for him. Nobody wants to do it, so Bart ends up filling it out. Bart just checked yes on everything, and Homer gets thrown into a loony bin. That's when he finds out his roommate is Michael Jackson? This guy doesn't really look like Michael Jackson. He looks more like a mix between my creepy Uncle Randall and Andre the Giant. Homer and Michael Jackson are really getting along. Michael Jackson eventually calls Bart and tells him to get Homer out of the asylum. I like how Bart knew so much about Michael Jackson, but Homer had never heard of him before. Homer interrupting this guy in group therapy is a great bit.
I couldn't leave the house. I just couldn't.
Was the door locked?
No, I just couldn't face what was out there.
Was it raining?
Anyway, that day I knew I just couldn't make that long drive to work.
Were you out of gas?
Marge comes to the insane asylum and saves Homer. Everyone seems to have forgotten Lisa's birthday with everything going on. Even I forgot about her when writing this script. Michael Jackson is coming to Homer's house for dinner. Bart swore he wouldn't tell anyone, but he proceeded to tell the entire town. The town is super excited to see MJ. It's funny that Homer's shirt is still pink. Everyone in the town is really disappointed to learn it isn't the real Michael Jackson. Now, I'm not an expert on the subject, but I knew something seemed off about him. Lisa's really upset at Bart for forgetting her birthday. She disowns him as a brother entirely. Fake MJ is helping Bart write a song to get back on Lisa's good side. Man, Homer really brought some giant guy from the insane asylum home with him and let him stay the night. Maybe Homer did deserve to be in that insane asylum. The song ends up working and Lisa forgives Bart. Homer flexing his not insane certification is an insane flex. This episode was nothing special in terms of early Simpsons episodes. It had some funny moments, but overall I wasn't super impressed. Michael Jackson turned out to be just some guy named Leon Kompowski. I wasn't a huge fan of this celebrity cameo. For my short and very limited experience with The Simpsons, it seems like every time they do a celebrity cameo, it leads to a weaker episode. Is that true, Simpsons fans? Are there any good celebrity cameos? If so, please direct me to them. Let's take a peek at why this episode ended up being banned. This episode aired per usual and even had Michael Jackson voicing Leon. Who would have guessed? A sequel to this episode was actually in the works as well. Leon was supposed to return to Springfield, but instead he was supposed to sound sound like Prince and be voiced by Prince. They had everything lined up for that episode, but due to an argument over the script, the episode was written but never produced. This episode received some praise, and it even aired in tribute to Michael Jackson following his death. In 2019 though, the documentary Leaving Neverland came to light, detailing every allegation against Michael Jackson. This led to the episode being banned and pulled from all forms of media. There we have the top banned episodes from each of the major shows. South Park's 200 and 201 is an amazing two-part series that I highly recommend watching if you can get your hands on it. Family Guy and the Simpsons episodes were just okay. If you know of any other banned episodes or moments, please do let me know in the comments below. I definitely understand why each of these episodes were banned. Typically, I don't agree with outright banning forms of media like this, but I feel like these episodes were kind of ban-worthy. Heavily censoring the episode 201 feels super unnecessary to me, especially Kyle's speech at the end. It felt like the networks were under some heat and didn't want to be directly called out in the show, so they got a bit censor happy. Definitely check out 200 and 201 though. Those are great episodes. Cannot say that enough. If you want to see more videos like this, drop any ideas or suggestions in the comments below. If you enjoy the content, please be sure to subscribe. It really helps me out. If you want to join our growing community, a link to the Discord is in the description. Thanks for watching.